Welcome back to the Wizard shop. Isn't this little car cute, Mrs. Wizard?
It's just adorable.
It's Triumph TR8, yes. This is Bill's little TR8. He's had several cars in here. We're going to talk about some of his cars and this car right after this. This is a 1980 Triumph TR8 with the Rover 3.5 V8. We're going to take a look at that engine today. I apologize for the noise in the background. It's very, very windy today. We have a north cold wind. It's kind of chilly in Kansas today, but I kind of like it. You guys have seen this before. It's been in the shop before. In the previous video we did on this car, it was actually shooting sparks to the owner's groin area. It was under the steering column. Whenever he would take a turn, it would shoot sparks and try to take his manhood away from him. We got that taken care of. It was a bad grounding issue throughout the whole body, and it was trying to ground through the steering column when it would lightly contact the body. We got that fixed, got that taken care of. This thing's only got 23,000 miles on it, but age has taken its toll on some of the parts and pieces of this car, even though the miles are low. It's in here today for some strut issues, a fuel pump issue, also a starter issue, and a couple other small little things. It's not really a whole lot. You guys have seen his other cars in the shop. He had the Lotus Esprit Turbo, the 95 S4S, that we pulled the head off and did a whole bunch of work to it. He's been driving it, enjoying it, and having a great time with it. We also worked on a red Porsche 928. I think it was an 82. And he also has a dark blue 993. It's a 95 993 Porsche. You guys have seen it in the background, and I think we've done a video on it before too, an air conditioning video. But we're going to go ahead and show you some of the issues we're going to be diagnosing on this car. We're not going to go front to back and show the whole bottom of the car and stuff. If you want to see that, you can check the previous video. We've already done all that on this car. But we will lift it up and show what we're going to have to do to find out what's going on with the fuel pump. But first, let's get the bonnet opened and take a look under there. This to me is one of the coolest little engines on the planet. This is the Rover V8. It actually started back in 1962 with Buick. It was a little 213 aluminum, actually all aluminum V8. They had troubles with head gaskets. The technology really wasn't there to make all this work. They got so tired of it, they actually scrapped it and sold the whole engineering and tooling and everything as a whole package to Rover Car Group in England. In America, we all know about the Chevy 350, the venerable 327 to 350, the small block Chevys, been around for a long time and they're everywhere. Well, if you go to England, the 350 is not everywhere. This engine is everywhere. They talk about doing Rover swaps and putting Rover engines here and there, 3.5s, just like we talk about small block Chevy swaps. This is their swap, Rover engines. If you take a look at this and start looking around, you will realize, hey, this looks like a Land Rover Discovery engine. It is, basically. The Land Rover Discovery engine is bigger displacements, 3.9, which they actually end up calling a 4.0, and they even punched it out to a 4.6 in the last years of the Discovery 2, but is a very small V8, very lightweight, all aluminum, and to me they're a joy to work on. They're very easy to work on. I've been through probably 12 or 13 sets of head gaskets with Land Rover Discoveries, and I'm very, very familiar with these engines. The valve covers are really easy to get to. It's just Phillips screws basically. You take 4 of them and off, and the valve cover comes right off. The water pump is just right here. It's easy to get to. It's pretty much easy to work on like your Chevy 350, but to me it seems a lot simpler and a lot easier. Maybe because it's smaller, not so big and heavy. You can take the cylinder heads off of these with one hand. They're very light. It has front distributor, where a Chevy would be in the back, but it's a front mount distributor. This one happens to have an Edelbrock intake, a Holley carburetor with an Edelbrock air cleaner. That is not stock. He has all the stock components for this car, but he has this set up in here for a little bit more power, and it runs really good when the fuel pump's cooperating. One of the issues it's in here for is right there. You can see the top of the strut, the threads. That's one of the issues. Here in my hand I have the old struts, one of the old ones. These are cartridges. You have to take the knuckle off and pull it out of the cartridge, slide this down into the cartridge and screw it in. That's how you do the front struts on these. But the issue is that Bill, the owner, tried to do these himself, and on that side, on the driver's side, for whatever reason, it kept locking up on the nut, and it ended up stripping out the threads. It's easy to say, don't blame the owner for stripping out the threads, but really, this black cup shape, it's like a washer that's the shape of a cup right here. It didn't do him any favors because the hole is D-shaped, not O-shaped, it's D-shaped. And when he tried to cram it down under the threads, it would strip some of the threads out. We had to take it all back apart and put a die on it and run it back and forth until we got nice clean threads. And we took care of the issue with the D-shaped hole and drilled it and made an O-shaped hole, I guess you want to call it, to fit these aftermarket struts, and it worked great. This side we really didn't have as much trouble. It went very well, but we took care of that for him. So these are one of the scenarios that sometimes you're a do-it-yourself mechanic and you get into a bind and you're so mad and you're just like, you know what? I'm going to pay whatever it costs to take it to the wizard or whoever your wizard is and have this done so that I don't end up jumping off a bridge. So let's go ahead and move on to the next issue he has. Look at this really quirky interior. It almost looks to me like Burberry or something. The flannel with the tan and the red, and it's a very English style interior. I actually think it looks kind of cool, but I have heard other people that have seen this car said it makes them want to throw up in their mouth, but I don't see it that way. I really like this interior. It's really cool. As you can see, he has a fire extinguisher in case it starts throwing sparks at his manhood again. He definitely wants to have some help there if that issue arises. And so far it hasn't. It hasn't done that at all since I fixed it. So one of the issues he has is he goes to crank the car and he can hear the solenoid on the starter click, but nothing happens. It doesn't crank over. I haven't diagnosed that yet. I haven't gone very far with it, but let's try it out and see if it does it here for us real quick. What is that, an air raid alarm? We need to go for
Not very loud.
need to go to our
bomb shelter.
nuclear bomb shelter. There we go, you hear that? It's not cranking over. I've got the clutch all the way down. It's in neutral. You can hear it click. There, it started to crank over a little bit. Let's try it again. Give it a little pump of gas there. Anyways, like I said, it runs great if you can get it to start. I know from experience and from hearing it trying to click, the relays are working in the dash. It's a starter solenoid. Very likely it has issues with heat because it has aftermarket headers on it, and the heat soak off the headers goes right into the starter solenoid and it doesn't last very long. Might look into doing some sort of a heat wrap or something for him, and we need to replace the starter very likely. But I'm pretty sure, 90% sure, that's what the issue is there. I'm gonna go ahead and raise it up. We're gonna move back to the fuel tank and show you what we got going on there. Before we head to the back, I'll show you the struts where we had to take the knuckle off. The strut fits down inside this tube. This is not the actual strut. That's just a tube that holds the strut. That's not able to be done with it in the car, really. You have to put the spring in a strut press and compress the spring so you can take it all apart and replace them. That's all taken care of. He'll be happy about that. A couple of the things that led to him completely abandoning the whole idea of him fixing the struts was that he doesn't have a lift. And with the spring situation, when you don't have the right tools, it can end up being very hairy. You can end up hurting yourself. But with a lift, and we have a strut compressor over there, it makes the job a cinch, really easy. It makes sense to pay us to go ahead and do it. Let's take a look at the starter. So here we have the starter is fairly new, but as you can see, these exhaust headers are unwrapped, unprotected, and the heat is soaking right into the solenoid. I've seen this before on vehicles that the heat finally takes its toll on the solenoid and it just doesn't work anymore. It quits working. We're going to have to make a heat shield or do something to prolong the life of his starters. But no problem, we can take care of that here. Let's head on back to the gas tank. So here you can see the gas tank. And there's the fuel pump and the fuel sending unit. It's two separate openings here. So very likely his fuel pump has given him issues. What he wants us to do is to drain the gas and take this particular cap off. He wants to get a borescope camera inside and make sure that the fuel tank is clean. If it isn't, we're going to remove it. If it is clean, we're going to replace the pump with one that he's already provided and put it back together. The pump is occasionally just stalling on him, it quits. We will also make sure that the powers and grounds are in good shape and make sure that's not an issue, but very likely the fuel pump just needs to be replaced. This is another one of those scenarios where he did take a peek under there and thought, well, maybe I can get in there and take care of it myself as the owner. And then he realized, I could probably seriously get hurt here, and it looks like something that's going to make me really angry. So bringing it here with the strut issue, he just had a small list. He was like, just go ahead and do all of this, Car Wizard. I don't want to fight with this anymore. I want it done right, and I don't want to go to work all pissed off. We have fixed many of his cars. He keeps bringing us more of his other cars, his small collection that he has, and we are very happy to work on Bill's cars for him. This is a really cool car. It's really neat. And I like that it's so small, yet it has a V8. You guys heard it a minute ago. It sounds really good. It sounds really good. In the 50s and 60s is when you really started seeing Triumphs brought over to America. In fact, most of every car they made in the 50s and 60s was exported to the USA. And over the years, you saw Spitfires, TR6, TR8, TR7s also. They had tons and tons of different cars. They were all, seemed like they were all small like this. They're not around obviously today, but there's still a lot of these on the road. Some of them are pretty rusty by now. Luckily this one is not. This thing's in really good shape. It's a garage princess. Let's take a look around it and look in the trunk. It's got the nice 5-mile-per-hour bumpers here in the States. You could almost sit on it and have a picnic. Nice gold paint. I really like the color of this car. No serious dents or dings, or we seen underneath it wasn't rusty and nasty and all crusty. We also saw on the interior, we already looked at it, it's in very, very good shape for its age. Very nice. The convertible top is all in good shape. When he puts it up, it's all in nice shape as well. The fenders, the sides, everything is in good shape. No dents, no dings. Not anything to speak of anyway. And this door handle is classic 80s. Nice latch. Boom. Go around to the rear of the car. Definitely looks English. And there's the huge bumpers again. You can have a seat here and with another guy and just have a talk about society or anything, whatever you want to talk about. Look inside the trunk. There's the fuel pump I talked about that he was including. So when we get it all apart, if it does need a fuel pump, we'll just go ahead and change it out. Most of the trunk mat that's in here is in very good shape. Most of these cars, when you get them to this age, they're either missing or just completely shredded. This one has everything intact and looks nice. He does have a master shutoff switch. These cars of the 80s, the Triumphs, are known for electrical problems, and they are known to catch fire, no matter how well you maintain them. He is aware of that, so that's why this switch is here. You can just turn off the power when you're not driving it, and it completely eliminates the risk, at least while it's sitting. It's kind of an odd place to put gas in. If you spill it, it'll get all over your top and all over the paint. I guess it works. Again, this side is in nice shape. It's not caved in or rusted out. Really a nice car. It presents very well. Look at those wheels. Those are really cool wheels. I don't know that those are stock or not. I'm not sure. But they do look nice on this car. And one last thing I'll show you guys is something that Hoovie from Hoovie's Garage is a sucker for, is flip-up headlights. It looks kind of odd, like a frog. And those headlights are all glass. They're not plastic, cheap, chintzy stuff that frosts over like a modern Toyota or Hyundai or Kia or something. But I thought Bill's car was back in the shop. You guys would like to see it. I know the last time it was in here, you guys really enjoyed seeing this TR8 in such good shape. And you guys also enjoyed the funny story of how it was sparking at him and trying to make him sterile. But definitely thought you guys would like to see another vintage English car. You don't see these a lot on the road, and most mechanic shops, probably in the state of Kansas, don't even get to see these really cool cars come into their shop. Either they'll turn it away because they don't even want to mess with it, or the owners don't trust them to work on the car. So make sure to check out my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. Got all my tools listed for sale there. I got a small cut out of it when you guys purchase something. I appreciate it. And make sure, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We got many, many cool videos to come, yacht videos, and tons of car videos. Thanks for watching.